Remember that middling, boring, bland Starfield game that Bethesda released a few months ago? I just about forgotten about it as well, but something has been brought to my attention that has brought this all back. I'm remembering how bland this game was, the non-existent exploration, the loading screens. It's not good to think about. What's happened though is someone on Steam has left a negative review of Starfield. They've given it a thumbs down. Now that might not seem like much to talk about. What's the big deal there? That's par for the course these days. It's got mixed reviews. Currently, recent reviews on Steam, and it's at about 70%, keeps going down. But the reason this is big is because a Bethesda dev has responded to this review. They've given their thoughts and given some comebacks, some explanations for why this review shouldn't be listened to. The review itself, it's quite good. It's well thought out. The player has over 100 hours or close to 100 hours played in the game, so it's not as if it's someone who's dabbled and just got on the hate train and said it's crap without giving it a shot. They've played it, they put their money where their mouth is, and because it's Steam, they actually did have to pay for it, like I did. I felt like a bit of a fool, whereas if you got it on Game Pass, you could probably have played it for $1 if you only played it for a month, which is all it would have been worth at the very most. The review, it really does go in depth on the gameplay, the exploration. I don't even know how you get 6 dot points on the exploration. It's 1 dot point. It's non-existent, basically. The planets are randomized. The gameplay loop sucks. Why would you want to explore an empty cave for the 20th time? Scan generic alien enemies just to complete 100% on your little map. None of that is fun at all. Exploration was a big fail. Quest characters and writing, sure, some of the quest lines were okay, but kind of one and done, and certainly weaker than most other RPGs that do focus on quests and writing. These were never really Bethesda's strengths. There were some nice quest lines, like the Dark Brotherhood one in Oblivion. There were some decent ones in Morrowind as well. But overall, people came to Bethesda games for that exploration, the environmental storytelling, and they went to, say, Obsidian with New Vegas if you wanted those nice characters, those nice quest lines, the choice and consequence. Instead, Bethesda seemingly doubled down on the quests, but they weren't really that great. They weren't better than other games of right now, like Baldur's Gate 3. They're not as good as, I would say, the Cyberpunk quests. And then they lost the exploration, which was their main draw. So even if they get a little middling thumbs up for the quests, given they dropped the ball with everything else, it doesn't make up for it. The reviewer's conclusion is that Starfield is a major step back, not just for the gaming industry, not just the RPG genre, but for Bethesda themselves. It's a step back compared to all their other games. They mention that there's less to do than in Fallout 4, less to do than in Skyrim, and basically a big fail. They do clarify as well, this is not some hater. This is a lifelong Bethesda fan who's had their heart broken by this. They feel their heart breaking when they write this review. They want to spare anyone else from playing this load of garbage. They want us to play something else. Totally fair review. A lot of people have said that the review is helpful to them. Thousands of people agree, essentially. Bethesda are not happy. They respond. They're fuming. And this person, this developer, this is confirmed, it's genuinely a dev from Bethesda. They come back and say, "Greetings. We are sorry to hear that Starfield didn't live up to your expectations. Some of Starfield's planets are meant to be empty by design. But that's not boring. I think I must have amnesia, because I don't remember when we nominated Bethesda to be the ones to decide what is fun and what isn't. The customer is always right. I'm not talking about when someone angry at McDonald's complains that their McNuggets took 2 minutes too long to get to them, but I am saying that when consumers don't buy your product or want a refund or tell other people not to buy it because it is crap, they had a bad experience, they're entitled to do that. And the developer or the person responsible, if they say, no, it's good, you're wrong, they're just being biased, they're not worth listening to. It's a stupid comment, and it gets dumber. The person then says, when the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. They certainly weren't bored. So they're comparing their pixelated video game to an experience that is so grand that most of us couldn't even possibly imagine it. There's only a handful of people in history of humanity who've been able to leave this Earth, go into outer space in a spaceship, go to the moon. They're comparing their game to that. I don't think this person really thought this through. It's a video game. When I sit down to play Starfield, I don't put on my pretend spacesuit, my little helmet, and go, oh, I'm really in space. This is a space simulator. I'm exploring all these planets. It's so realistic. I don't care about any of that. I just want a good game to play, good exploration. I don't need everything to be one for one. I don't need an excuse that space travel's impossible because technically in real life in space everything would be too far away. No, just deliver a good game. That's all I care about. You're a developer. You're not working at NASA. No one cares what you think when it comes to space travel. Just deliver a video game. They mention that the intention of Starfield's exploration is to evoke a feeling of smallness in players and make you feel overwhelmed. I was underwhelmed. The entire game is underwhelming. I've talked about the exploration a plethora of times. The characters, the animations, nothing about it is immersive at all, and the only thing that felt small was the game world. I didn't feel like I was in a huge world and I was small in comparison to everything else that was going on. The game world felt small because there's a loading screen every 2 seconds. When you get into space, you can't move. At least it doesn't feel like it. I genuinely feel like in space travel that I'm sitting still. And even when you fight other spaceships, it doesn't feel like I'm in a Star Wars simulator, those old X-Wing games where you could actually fly around and shoot things. It seemed more like I was just sitting there idle and I would somersault backwards when I would shoot things. And it just doesn't feel good at all. They left the combat in there, space combat, but you can't go anywhere, you can't explore. Madness for a Bethesda game. It makes no sense. Again, they don't look at their strengths at all. When has combat ever been good in Bethesda games? It hasn't, and yet that's what you did with space travel. Combat, nothing else. Total dud. They then go on that you can explore and find worlds that do have resources you need or hidden outposts to look through. Was this written by ChatGPT? Because I don't understand how this addresses anything. Yeah, you can find resources, but that's the problem. That's the only thing that you can do. Scan shit. I don't care about any of it. You find enough resources doing basic things. And I don't care about anything in the post-game, building more outposts, because what's the point of that? They just sit there, the content's run out, because the only content of interest is the handmade content. Anything that goes on forever is not worth looking at all. It's like the Fallout 4 Radiant quests. Skyrim had some of those as well. I don't know what the data told them, if there's actually people who play that crap, but I considered Fallout 4 over when I finished all of the main quests. As soon as I started getting, go and kill these 10 raiders, go to this outpost you've already cleared, do it again, new enemies have spawned, that's when I switched the game off. I knew I was done. Bethesda have this idea that their players are stupid or something, that you won't realise that you're just on a hamster wheel, just clearing MMO randomly generated quests. I don't think anyone is still playing those. I think most people have switched off, but apparently they seem to think we'll be fooled and we'll keep looking for resources, hidden outposts, aka randomly generated garbage that you've already seen. And then he says, if you're looking to feel OP, he puts in quotation marks, OP, we recommend looking at completing the quests that grant you special powers to go along with your heavy weaponry. If you don't feel unstoppable, then we are not sure you will feel like that in any other game. So now they just get into condescending territory where if you've got a problem with the game, it must be you. You're the problem. Because you'll find this same issue in other games. Perhaps even worse. It's so good in Starfield that if you didn't feel OP in Starfield after going through everything, if that didn't make you feel good, then you're going to absolutely hate everything else. It's ridiculous. There's in-depth guides and videos about how few unique weapons there actually are in Starfield. I think there's about 3, and they're all just modified slightly, but they're essentially the same guns. So even if you do get this new heavy weaponry and it's got bigger numbers, you do more damage, you're not really going to feel OP playing with the same gun that you have for hours and hours. It's just a little bit retuned. I don't really know what they're talking about, and they continue this. They talk about the ship building, the outpost building, how amazing ship combat is, and as I said, it feels like you're standing still. It's the worst part of the game. I think in any of my Starfield play sessions where I've turned the game off, almost always it has been when I've gotten up to a ship combat section. It's not what I've come for. Again, I've come to do quests that get me exploring out into the world, but there's none of that really to be seen. I'm just fast traveling to different locations, different galaxies. I'm stuck with a world map that just feels like a total hindrance because they wanted this immersive feeling of space exploration rather than just traveling to points of interest. I instead have to get into the space map, click into a new solar system. Oh no, you haven't gone far enough to go there then. You're gonna have to click on these 3 other planets or other solar systems first before you can go there. But then even in doing that, it was totally pointless because you just wanted to go to one place, but you had to jump through a bunch of hoops. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. It's just thinking back to that game, it was just a headache. It was just tedious. Everything about the game is tedious. And to see the devs themselves coping, pretending like it's users' problems, when they've gotten so much feedback that tells them that this game isn't what we wanted, they should be hard at work making sure the DLC that they've promised to release, they've taken people's money for that DLC. Anyone who pre-ordered or bought the early access release, some sort of premium edition, that's meant to have an expansion. That should be one planet. I want to see one planet, and that's it. I don't want to see some solar system or some expansion that's got a zillion planets with nothing. I just want one planet. And on that one planet, bring us back to the better days of Bethesda, where I can explore its handcrafted content. I want to go into a dungeon and know that you've actually created this. It's not just you patting yourself on the back for some sort of algorithm, some sort of randomly generated procedural content you've put together in some engine. I actually just want to play something that a human has created and put in front of me. Creativity is put into it. Passion's been put into it. I know I'm not going to get that. That is totally coping. But I can hope. I can really hope because I'm one of the sad suckers who got that premium edition. So, sucks to be me. But they also mentioned to provide feedback to development for Starfield, please feel free to submit your feedback using this form. I hate this because I can tell you right now, based on this review, this is stupid because they do not care about our feedback at all. They don't care what we've got to say about the game. The only reason they've said this is because they want us to go on their website to submit the feedback so that other users, other potential customers can't see it. They're not interested in someone giving their thoughts on Steam, which I love. The thing I love about Steam is it's easier to see what people really think. It's not like here on YouTube where they ban the dislike button. Steam have kept this. So if a game sucks, if there's some sort of controversy, you as users can jump on, make your thoughts heard, and hopefully hurt the developers' financials in the process. People see, oh, it's mixed on Steam, bugger that, I'll play Baldur's Gate 3 that's got overwhelmingly positive reviews. Well deserved. I honestly reckon the only reason they've responded is to try and shut people up, basically. Go on the website instead and put your feedback in there. I didn't even know that Beth.Games, a Bethesda website, existed. I thought it was all Microsoft now because they don't have their launcher and all of that crap. But anyway, anything to hide the bad news. Stop people from revealing that the game is a load of junk. It gets even sadder than this because the truth is now that more people are playing Skyrim on Steam than Starfield. It wasn't that long ago that everyone was memeing on Bethesda for re-releasing Skyrim every 7 seconds. And Bethesda themselves used that as marketing. They bought into the memes. They came out and said things like, hey fellow kids, we're gonna re-release Skyrim on your fridge, on your calculator. Haha, it's gonna be great. But seriously, you better rebuy this game. Get out your wallets. If you don't, Todd Howard is going to have a very serious chat for you. That is how it felt for the longest time, and people did rebuy it. It seemed to keep selling. But the sad reality is, despite all the jokes, people would actually rather play Skyrim for the millionth time than they would play this dud, Starfield. There's even a visual which breaks that down here, and it basically tells us that there's 15,000 people playing Skyrim across the various editions. There's only around 11,000 playing Starfield. The numbers are getting lower and lower. I know we heard all that talk about all of the interactivity, all the engagement for Starfield when it first released, and sure, it had a big peak on Steam. I'm sure there were plenty of people playing it on Game Pass. But the thing about Game Pass is if you're a PC player and you subscribe to Game Pass specifically for Starfield, let's be honest, you probably subscribed for about a month, you realized it was garbage, and you unsubbed. Game Pass, there's been deals over the years on PC where you can get it as low as $1 a month. I actually did that for Halo Infinite. I had a semi-interest in Halo, and I thought, yeah, I like FPS campaigns. I don't want to pay $100 on Steam to play Halo. I'll just subscribe to Game Pass. And I played it through. Pretty average game. I unsubbed. They only got $1 out of me. It's the same for Starfield. Even if you paid full price for Game Pass to play it, what is it, like $15 a month at the most or something? So they're really losing money compared to their older releases where they would just get it out there for full price and plenty of people would have played it. I'm sure there's a ton of people who would have actually bought Starfield, but the option to play cheaper on Game Pass, they took that option because, hey, it doesn't cost much money. They probably thought, if it's great, I will rebuy it on Steam later for the mods, this 10-year plan that Toddy keeps talking about. Now they're not going to do it. The numbers are going down. There's probably not going to be many mods because, A, it's apparently harder to make them for Starfield. There's been a lot of talk from modders suggesting just fundamentally it's more difficult to make mods compared to Fallout 4, compared to Skyrim. Many people say, no, the creation kits are coming probably next year. It'll make it easy again. I've heard that's not really the only factor, that there's genuine fundamentals that make it harder to mod Starfield. It might get easier, but it probably won't be the same as doing it for Skyrim and so on. And if that's the case, why would modders bother? We heard the other day that Witcher 3 is getting a mod creation kit. That's a popular game. It sold 65 million plus copies. Starfield could only dream of that number, so there's more people potentially to play mods if you develop them for The Witcher. Same for Skyrim, as we can see, still a popular game. Why would you bother doing it for Starfield when you can make a new Skyrim mod? There's going to be more engagement there. More people are going to see your work. It just seems totally dead. The devs are salty, they're responding to reviewers, they're arguing with them, they're not listening to their customers despite saying that they want our feedback. Really, it's just to hide it. And Microsoft are probably regretting the decision to pick them up because Redfall, that was a total embarrassment that can't be salvaged. Starfield, people wanted to like it. I think that's the difference here is I'm one of those people. I didn't set out hoping Starfield would fail. I thought, great, we've gotten Baldur's Gate 3, we're getting Phantom Liberty. What could be better than getting another great RPG? I even went into it, day one playing it, wanting to like it. I went to New Atlantis, I thought, something feels a little wrong here, but maybe I just need to play longer. Todd mentioned if I invest more time into it, I will get a better experience. Just more of the old sales pitch. Keep playing and maybe you'll get sunk cost fallacy and you'll just pretend that you liked it. That's the only way that we can try and trick people into having long-term interest. That's pretty much it. The game was a dud. I'm sure there's going to be more embarrassments that come out about it, but I think most people are looking for the next game now. They're still talking about Baldur's Gate 3, which feels like it released ages ago. That's of more interest. It's gonna win Game of the Year, most likely, where Starfield's nowhere to be seen. Bethesda, they're at rock bottom. I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be any better. I don't think that Bethesda are going to learn. Todd probably has to be moved on. I hate to say it, but he's been there for a long time, and Bethesda, it's a downward trajectory. It's not going up. They're not improving in any way whatsoever. Things are only getting worse. So there's got to be some sort of shake-up. I think the IPs from Bethesda are most valuable. Fallout, Elder Scrolls. If you gave them to a competent dev, and they just produce something similar of scale to a Skyrim, a lot of people would play it. Sure, you would want a classic, but the IPs have been wasted for the longest time, and just from a business perspective, it is super, super odd. Given the amount of cash grabs that ZeniMax and Bethesda put out over the years, Wolfenstein, Youngblood, a lot of other nonsense mobile games, just seems really odd that they didn't use them, but they were happy to let the Bethesda A team supposedly grind them into the dirt. I hope we at least still get some laughs out of Bethesda, out of Starfield. It's the best we can hope for. But thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.